everyone, it's Juan here from SwitchWatch, back with another review. Today it's a game called Bunker, provided to us by Wales Interactive. Really interesting one because it's an FMV type game, and my question of the day is, what do you think of FMV type games? Let's find out what I think of it in my review to see whether it's worth your hard-earned cash. Let's get into it.
These games for me are usually a blast from the past. Back in the 80s, I remember playing FMV games in arcades at first, but in the early 90s is when I had the fortune or misfortune of playing games such as Night Trap or The Seventh Guest, probably those being the most well known. I remember these fondly because at the time it seemed like this was going to be the future of video games, or maybe that was just marketing speak. I was around 12 or 13, so what did I know? All I knew was that having the ability to interact in what looked like an actual movie seemed unbelievable at the time. I remember Night Trap fondly purely because I wasn't allowed to play it, but then I went round to a friend's house who had managed to bag a copy, and we spent the whole evening playing this game. Looking back now though, these games seemed at the time revolutionary, but the reality is that they weren't very good, and in the end, with 3D graphics getting better and better all the time, the initial excitement wore off pretty quickly, much like virtual reality, although both now seem to be making a comeback. So this brings me nicely onto the Bunker. This is as close as you're going to get to having a movie on your Switch right now, seeing as Netflix is still unavailable. It appeared on other consoles, but is it any good? Let's find out. In terms of the story, you're a lone survivor in a bunker who's been there since birth due to a nuclear war. Your mother's now passed away, and it's you and your routine which go through like clockwork on a daily basis. As you tick off your checklist on a piece of paper every day, you lead a life which is lonely, and it's this routine, no doubt, which has kept you alive and will do for years to come. Your routine consists of checking food, although why John likes to sit down on the loo while eating is pretty grim, checking the air vents and toxicity in the bunker. The story of how everybody within the bunker and how they perished is told in a sequence of flashbacks from when you were a child and everyone was still alive, which is told rather well, and there are some shocking moments that no child should have to go through. It certainly had me very intrigued. It's quite telling that this game has been made by a movie studio because, although made with a B-movie budget, the acting and story told throughout is all very solid. You feel for our lead protagonist John, who doesn't know anything other than his mother, this bunker and routine which his mother taught him. Within his daily routine, things start to go wrong, and this is where John has to start doing things outside of his comfort zone. It's also where we start to learn that it's not only toxicity from the outside that you have to worry about, but also the horrors which lie within the bunker itself. Without giving too much away, this is basically a film, and it's told for the most part rather well. And I think if you go into it thinking about it more as a movie, then you'll enjoy it a little bit more. I don't want to delve into it any further here, as it will certainly end up being in spoiler territory.
We'll run some tests, Mr. Bishop.
Is anyone else showing signs?
Yes, 6 others.
Quarantine them right away. Find out where they were working, what they've had contact with, and what they've been eating. We need a source. Margaret.
In terms of audio then, this is all very good, but then it is an interactive movie, so it can't really be spoken about in the same terms of a game. If you think of a B-movie, then the sound quality is akin to that. The sound effects are all rather good, and the background sounds are very eerie indeed, with stringed instruments building the tension. All the voice acting is rather fantastic. Visually, again, it's difficult to speak in gaming purposes because it's filmed as a film, so if you can imagine a bunker, then this certainly looks and feels like you're in one. This is based in the United Kingdom, and all the voice acting is as such. Everything though is quite dark in places, and when traversing through the bunker, there's like a red hue at times. A quick glance, especially on the Switch itself, you'd be forgiven to think that this is some sort of realistic graphics going on, but of course it's not. It's just a trick that your eyes are playing on you because you're so used to playing games on it. There's no performance issue, which is a bonus, and I really did enjoy having my headphones on and using touch controls. That's how I definitely liked to play this one. So in terms of gameplay, my issue with games such as these is there isn't really much for the player to do. Yes, of course there are interactions from time to time and you can make a few decisions as to where you go, but this is a tightly managed game, and as such you'll always end up where you need to end up, with decisions having little or no impact. As an example, even if you were to click on the wrong choice, John will tell you need to do something else first. All you really do is move a cursor, click on a few options which will either give you a bit more story, will open a door to the next area where more options will open up. Each interaction moves a story forward, and sometimes you may have to find a piece of information like a code for a door to move forward, but it's never very difficult. Honestly, sometimes it felt as though you as the player are forgotten about at times, which seems a little odd, but that's just how it is here. When things do start to go wrong, you'll have to carry out mundane tasks such as changing an air filter or picking up a torch so you can get through a dark tunnel. To open a hatch, you may have to tap the A button really quickly, or to open some doors, you'll have to move a large white circle into a black one. Simple stuff just to engage the player a little, but honestly, there's nothing much to it. I will say that this type of genre has come a long way since the 90s, and I really do think there is a place for this type of experience on the Switch, but does it make a good game? I don't really think it does. In fact, I would say that as a game, this is below average, purely as there's not much for you as the player to do here. There are some collectibles in the forms of toys, but these feel much like an afterthought. There's no tough decisions to make, and everything you do eventually leads to you moving the story forward anyway. You can die, but I only died once, and that was falling from a lift shaft because I wasn't quick enough to move the cursor to the right spot at the right time. However, this was in docked mode, and it wouldn't have happened had I been playing in handheld mode. The cursor's rather sensitive and inaccurate with the analog input, so when you're meant to do something quickly, you have to be on your toes. Not because it's hard, just because the controls are not that great, and let's be honest, there's not much to control here, so I think a better job could have been done. There isn't this problem, of course, in handheld though, as you can use touch controls, which work much better, and the issue is completely irrelevant. So overall, from a gameplay perspective, there isn't much to do other than let the experience carry you through, and either the touch screen or touching a few buttons from time to time is all okay, but as I say, it's not very engaging in that respect. I was able to live with it though, because the story had me fascinated until the credits rolled. So in terms of value, the game does cost £9.99 or $12.99 in the United States. So this is about the cost of a decent Blu-ray movie, and that's how I suggest you view this. Don't think of this as a game, because by those standards it just doesn't offer anything to you as the player in that department. It's not challenging, it doesn't offer anything in the way of replay value, and while the movie is decent enough, good acting with a pretty good plot, it wasn't compelling enough for me to want to go through it again. Once this is done, then it's done. So in terms of my verdict, The Bunker is an interactive movie. In that respect, the movie studio have done a decent enough job, and if you look at it like that, I can recommend this as a decent enough entertainment for a couple of hours at least. I quite enjoyed it, and I think there is a future for this type of experience on the Switch, or any console or PC for that matter. Do I think it's a good game? Certainly not, and my notes in the gameplay section reflect that. This though is saved by the fact that it's a pretty unique experience on the Switch. As an interactive movie, I would say it's a success. I would like to see more like this in the future, but with a bit more emphasis on the gameplay and getting the player more involved in the decisions having an impact on the overall story. If you're keen to watch a decent enough movie on your Switch with the added benefit of some interaction, then this will be for you. For those though that want gameplay, then look elsewhere. A 6 out of 10. Well, if you're still here and you're still watching, then hopefully you enjoyed this video. To show your appreciation, please hit that thumbs up button. It means a lot to us. If you're a new watcher here and you want more reviews like this, then hit that subscribe button. We only cover Nintendo Switch games. We also cover those games on our website at www.switchwatch.co.uk. And if you want to have a chat, leave me a comment down below. We do our best to respond to as many as we can. My name is Juan Romero from SwitchWatch. I hope you've enjoyed this, I'll see you on the next one. Take care.